Shabbat Shalom. Lovely to have you all with us this evening, whether you're joining us in person or joining us on our live stream. It's lovely to welcome Shabbat with you. We'll begin our service this evening with sacred words, Yai Lai Lai, as we'll offer together this melody that will appear a little later on in our service. Ya la 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 lai lai lai, ya la 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 lai lai lai, ya la 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 lai lai lai, ya la lai, ya la 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 lai lai lai, ya la 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 lai lai lai, ya la 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 lai lai lai, ya la lai. Shabbat Shalom, 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 Shabbat Shalom.
So glad you are here with us. Those of you who are joining us here in the sanctuary and joining us online, what a wonderful way to bring in this most beautiful evening and weekend together. For those of us who are here in person and watching from the North Shore, it's just a gorgeous forecast that we have for the coming days. And I think it feels particularly sweet given that we've all felt the chill of fall already here and we know what's ahead. And it reminds us of how precious this weather is, how precious this time is, and what a wonderful way to consider what is most precious in our lives than by being together here to reflect and connect and observe Shabbat. I'm Allie Tick-Brill. I'm excited to be leading with Kenny Lyons-Wright. We'd like to invite you to take a moment now and greet the people you're sitting near and wish them Shabbat Shalom. Tony and Jane Rothschild are going to lead us in a moment in lighting the Shabbat candles. So this week we read the very beginning of Torah. Our Torah portion, Bereshit, describes the creation of the world, which is something we will be talking about throughout the service. And light is the first thing that is created in the world. And because of that, it has a position of primacy and importance. And when we light the candles in just a moment, we emulate God creating light. And when the Rothschilds strike the match and when we hear the sizzle of the flame and we see its brightness, this moment becomes transformed. And we put aside the work week and all of the labor and toil and stress that comes with. We put aside the urgent things that take our attention Monday through Friday. And now we have time to focus on things that are so important: love, rest, connection, study, prayer. And so now let us welcome those values. Let us welcome Shabbat.
You can turn in your prayer books to page 2. And I invite you to join me in singing. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. On page 4, as Rabbi Tick-Brill mentioned, we are reading the very beginning, Bereshit, the story of creation. And so to help welcome in that very special Shabbat, we'll share these words taken from Torah, Vayehi Erev, Vayehi Voker, and it was very good, V'hine Tov Me'od. Vayehi Erev, ויבוקר טוב מאוד, ויהי ערב, ויבוקר טוב מאוד. There was evening, there was morning, there was evening, there was morning, ויהי ערב, ויבוקר טוב מאוד, ויהי ערב, ויבוקר טוב מאוד.
Page 12, we continue welcoming Shabbat with Lechu Neranena.
For all of God's wonder and all of God's might, we rejoice. So now let us listen with all of our hearts to hear God's voice. Lechu neranena, yai lai 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 lai, Adonai, yai lai 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 lai, Maria, yai lai 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 lai, Tzur Yishenu, yai lai 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 lai, yai lai 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 lai, yai lai 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 lai.
Page 20, Lecha Dodi.
You'll recall this tune because we opened our service with it together. We sang Yai Lai Lai, we sang Shabbat Shalom, and now we'll sing the refrain on the top of page 20, as well as verses 1, 2, and 9 on the bottom of page 21. Lecha Dodi, likrat kala, penei Shabbat, likabela. Lecha Dodi, likrat kala, penei Shabbat, likabela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad, ishmi'anu el ha'meyuchad. Adonai echad u'shemo echad, v'shemo tiferet v'nitchila. Lecha Dodi, likrat kala, penei Shabbat, likabela. Lecha Dodi, likrat kala, penei Shabbat, likabela. Likrat Shabbat, lechu v'nelcha, ki hi mekor ha'beracha. Merosh mekedem
נעשה במחשבה תחילה לך אדוני לקראת קלה בני שבת לקבלה לך אדוני לקראת קלה בני שבת לקבלה בואי ושלום עטרת בעלה גם בשמחה ובצהלה תוך אמוני עם סגולה בואי חלה לך
We turn to our call to worship, Baruch Hu, page 28.
I invite you, if you feel comfortable and able, to rise.
Ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la. Am I awake? Am I prepared? Are you listening to my prayer? Can you hear my voice? Can you understand? Am I awake? Am I prepared? Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed, le'olam va'ed. Ya la 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 la, 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 ya la 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 la.
Please be seated. In our Torah portion this week, it says, there was evening, there was morning, day one. And because of this particular phrase, that is why on our Hebrew calendar we count a day from evening to evening, because it says there was evening, there was morning, day one. Our next prayer, Ma'ariv Aravim, marks that special moment when day turns to evening and when we advance to a new day. Page 30.
You are creator of day and night, rolling light into darkness and darkness to light. You are creator of day and night, rolling light into darkness and darkness to light. Golelo mipnei choshech vechoshech mipnei or. Ya la 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 la, 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 ya la 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 la.
The Torah describes how God created the first human. And there's a midrash that says that when God created Adam, the first human, God took dust from all four corners of the earth to create Adam with, so that no people could say, well, it is our lineage that is superior because you use dust from our land to create the first human. And because of this taking dust from all corners of the world, we all share the same spiritual ancestor. We all came from the same beginning. And this unites us as one human family, united under one God, who is the force and the entity that contains all living creatures and this one human family. We acknowledge that oneness with Shema, page 34.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad.
We'll turn to page 36, the continuation of those words from Torah. Together, we'll chant the Ve'ahavta.
Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha bechol levavcha uvechol nafshecha uvechol meodecha. Ve'hayu ha'devarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha. Veshinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shivtecha b'veitecha uvlechtecha v'derech uv'shochbecha uv'kumecha ukshartam leot al yadecha v'hayu letotafot beineinecha uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha uvisharecha Leman tizkeru v'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'yitem kedoshim lelohechem. Ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim liot lachem lelohim. Ani Adonai Elohechem.
Page 40, we sing our song of freedom, Mi Chamocha.
Yai lai 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 la 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 lai. Yai lai lai la lai la lai la lai lai. Yai lai 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 la lai. Yai lai 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 la lai la lai. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai. Mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh. Nora tehilot osef eleh. Nora tehilot osef eleh. Malchutecha uvanecha. Bokei hayam lifnei Moshe u'Miriam. Ze Elianu ve'ameru. Ze Elianu ve'ameru. Adonai imloch le'olam le'olam va'ed. Adonai imloch le'olam le'olam va'ed.
We pray now for an evening of peace. Page 40, Hashkivenu. We pray to sleep peacefully and to wake up to our souls and our bodies restored.
We'll use those first three lines of text at the top of page 42.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom, l'shalom. V'hamidenu shomreinu l'chaim. ופרוס עלינו סוכת שלומך, ופרוס עלינו סוכת שלומך. Amen. Shelter us beneath thy wings, O Adonai. Guard us from all harmful things, O Adonai. Keep us safe throughout the night, till we wake with morning's light. Teach us, God, wrong from right. Amen. 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 Amen.
We rise for the Amidah, page 46.
Adonai, Sephotai tiftach ufi agid tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise.
Page 48.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, ve'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor ve'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה.
Page 52. We read together in English in the middle of the page. You are holy, your name is holy, and those who are holy praise you every day. Blessed are you, Adonai, the holy God. Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh. Please be seated. We turn to page 55, and we read together at the top of the page. May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day. And may this day fulfill its promise. Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat. We turn now to the prayers of our own hearts.
The bottom of page 62. We'll conclude the prayers with our hearts by praying together for peace with the words of Oseh Shalom.
Oseh Shalom, Shalom bimromav, Uyaseh Shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'yimru amen. Uyaseh Shalom שלום, שלום ממרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל.
When God creates light, God says, Ki tov, this is good. And then as God goes on to create, after each element, God says, Ki tov, this is good. And this Ki tov, this is good, becomes a refrain throughout the creation story. And then a few verses later, God creates the first human and sees that the first human is alone. And when God sees this loneliness, it's the first time we hear ki lo tov. This is not good. It is not good for a human to be alone. Our prayers turn now to healing. And we know that suffering in any form, physical suffering, emotional suffering, spiritual suffering, is so painful and difficult to endure. And to endure it alone makes it even worse. Tonight, if you are in need of healing, we want you to know that you are not alone, that we are here with you. And if there's someone who you're praying for tonight, they are not alone because you are praying for them tonight, and you join your strength to theirs. So in a moment, we're going to turn to the words of Mishaberach on page 282, and we're going to ask you, if you're praying for someone tonight, to share their name out loud so that they are not alone, so that you are not alone, because we know that it is not good to be alone. If you're thinking of someone, you can share their name as my hand reaches you.
Our Sukkot Shalom community is also thinking very much of Margot Oberman and Kiki Richmond. Together on page 253, we'll offer these words of healing and of comfort, Mishaberach.
Mishaberach Avotenu Mikol HaBracha Limotenu. May the source of strength who blessed the ones before us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Mishaberach Imotenu Mikol HaBracha Lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
You can imagine that in my house, with a 4-year-old son and twin daughters who are 2 years old and a mom who's a little loose on discipline, what my living room looks like at the end of the day on Saturday and Sunday. There are blocks everywhere. There are fleeces of assorted sizes on the furniture. There are empty fruit bowls and snack wrappers, crumpled up tissues, at least a few baby dolls marooned on the rug. And after I put the kids to sleep and the food is put away, when I look out at this mess, I hear the words of my grandma Marilyn, and she says to me, start in one corner. Start in one corner and work your way out. This was a cleaning mantra of hers, one that I hold dear and that I practice. And what she meant by it is that when you look at something that's overwhelming and there's so much to do, specifically around cleaning a messy room, you find yourself one area to start in, and you begin tidying there and throwing away what needs to be thrown away. And if you're feeling ambitious, you can spray and use your paper towels. And then slowly but surely, the perimeter of your one corner grows. And then all of a sudden, your room is about a quarter of the way clean. And then it's about halfway clean. And then before you know it, the room is clean. Or in my case, it's clean enough so that you can enter it in the morning without being stressed out. In our Torah reading this week, God creates the world. And this story is told in a very specific and interesting way, where God picks a corner and starts working there and goes out in a very methodical way. So I'll review the story that I think is familiar to many of us. It says that in the beginning, the earth was unformed and void, and then God began to create. And it says on the first day, God created light. On the second day, God created sky. On the third day, God created land and vegetation. The fourth day was the sun and the stars. The fifth day was creatures of the land and the sky. And the sixth day was land creatures and humans. So it stands out to me as interesting that it took God 6 whole days. Like in the biblical imagination, God can do anything. There are no limits to God's power. And so by having it take God 6 days, I see in it this lesson about pacing ourselves and about noticing that our work cannot all be done at once. Every year when we read these same stories, we see different meaning in them. And I'm taking out this meaning for myself, and I hope for you as well, because so many of us have tremendous demands on our time, tasks that need to get done, care tasks, work tasks, tasks to maintain our relationships. And it feels like a lot of pressure to carry all of this. And this lesson of pacing ourselves and starting in one place and focusing our effort is almost countercultural. I see in this, in the myth of creation that's structured with each day a focus on something else, a beautiful lesson about patience. And I think so often in our culture, we think of patience as something passive, patience being the ability to sort of sit on your hands and wait for someone to finish their thought or to wait for a task to unfold. And in Hebrew, patience is incredibly active. Patience, or savlanut, is a trait that we're supposed to work very hard on developing. And in Hebrew, it comes from the root to porter. And so patience, or savlanut, means to porter or to carry a heavy weight for a long time. And so instead of it being this passive weight, it is an active display of strength, of how much you can carry and for how long. We know that the story goes that after 6 days of creation, God looks at the work God has created, and God says, this work is complete. This work is finished, and now I'm going to rest and bless this day and make it holy. But anything created in 6 days isn't really done. And the Talmud has sort of a pithy line about this and says, anything that's created in 6 days needs a little more work. And it uses the example of, it says, mustard seeds need to be sweetened, wheat needs to be sheaved, and human beings need to be refined. And so we know that the work of creation wasn't exactly done after 6 days. And yet, if you look specifically at the text, it belabors this point that God says it was finished and it was complete and God ceased from the work. And I think that requires tremendous spiritual discipline to be able to look at a task that you could continue laboring on and working on and noticing, it's time for me to put this away for now. It's time for me to rest. And so on this Shabbat, I'm lifting up these lessons of pacing ourselves and having patience and taking the time to rest as very important spiritual imperatives. And I hope that in this next day of Shabbat that you're able to find some of this patience and some of this ability to step away from your work, to notice that it's complete, and to perhaps attack those tasks in your life one corner at a time, knowing that slowly but surely you will get it done. Shabbat Shalom.
I'll invite you one more time, if you are feeling comfortable, willing, and able to rise and turn in your prayer books to page 282, where we'll offer together the concluding prayer of our service this evening, Aleinu L'Shabeach. Aleinu L'Shabeach L'Adon HaKol, L'Tetz Gedula Le'otzeh Breshit, Shehu Notei Shamayim Ve'osed Aretz, Umoshav Yikaro B'Shamayim Mima'ol, Ushchinatu Zol Begobe Meromim, Eloheinu Einod, V'anachnu Korim, Umishtachavim Modim, Lifnei Melech Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Page 287. V'ne'emar v'chaya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz, Bayom hahu, yeh Adonai echad, u'shemo echad.
Please be seated. Our thoughts turn now to memory as we think of our loved ones who are no longer with us, the people who created us, who helped shape us into who we are, our loved ones who were present along life's path and now live in our hearts. On this Shabbat, we remember in the 30 days of intensive mourning, Edward Rothschild, Ralph Arnheim, Michael Corzon. And we remember at the anniversary of their death, Thelma Montag, Rose Peachin, Arthur Lawrence Gilbert, Catherine Phillips Spira, Max Carl, Rosalind Slott, Linda Bliss, Ralph Schaffer, Rose Schaffer, Rita DeGrandis, Arlene L. Kantoff, Jacob Siegfried, Laura Barron, Louis Solab, Yaakov Abramson, Kenneth Cooper. Are there other names to add to our prayers this evening? Then we rise for the Mourner's Kaddish, page 294. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma divrach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, Ba'agala v'zman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam omei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitale v'yitalal shemei dekudesha barechu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechamata. Da'meran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei Shalama Rabba Min Shemaya, V'chayim Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael, V'imru Amen. Oseh Shalom B'mromav, hu yaseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen.
Ose shalom bimroma, uyase shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imeru, amen.
Please be seated. Two very brief but highly important announcements before we take our leave from each other this evening. First and foremost, we are pleased to welcome a candidate for Senior Rabbi of Sukkot Shalom to our congregation this Sunday morning at 10 a.m. right here in this sanctuary. Again, that is this Sunday morning at 10 a.m. right in this sanctuary for a town hall discussion. It will be a wonderful chance to learn from the candidate, to discuss various topics of learning with the candidate. It is important to note that because of the confidentiality of this process, that this will be an in-person meeting only. So for those of you watching via our live stream this evening, there will not be a live stream available Sunday morning. It is an in-person only event, but it is a very important event for you all to be able to experience possible candidates. So we do hope that you'll plan to join us Sunday at 10 a.m. And secondly, I want to let everybody know that the project that has been coming to fruition for quite some time is here. We've been working very closely with HIAS and Jewish Child and Family Services to sponsor a refugee family. Our refugee family has arrived. They are from Afghanistan. They are currently staying in Skokie before they move into their settled apartment, which will be helping them furnish. So an email will be going out to the entire congregation in the next 48 hours, likely much sooner than that, detailing donations and other volunteer services that are really very much needed at this time. Donations both in terms of your time and efforts in helping the family acclimate to the Chicagoland area, as well as items that might be used to help them settle comfortably into their apartment. So please do keep an eye on your emails. This is a project that we are very proud to stand behind and to do very well to help this family get settled in the Chicagoland area. So keep an eye on your emails so that you can help us pitch in and make sure that they feel welcomed. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Lovely to have you all with us this evening. For those of you joining us online, thank you. For those of you joining us in person, thank you. And shall we sing ourselves out of the sanctuary?
Shabbat Shalom, 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 Shabbat Shalom.